December 15th, 2017.
This is Nerd Bourbon episode 28. I'm Seth Sturgill.
And I'm Todd Sturgill.
How you doing, sir?
Pretty fucking good.
Are you here ready and raring to talk about some video games?
That's what we always do, and I'm always ready. Well, that's not true.
Well, we don't always do it. You're already lying. You're what, 10 seconds into this podcast and you're already lying to the fine folks?
What fine folks?
Yeah. Nerd Bourbon Gate 2017. Let's talk about some fucking video games, Todd. It's been a minute since we've done that, so let's do it. You want to start us off?
Yes. I'll start it off with actually it's something I've been working on for what, like over a month now? Over a couple? It's like been
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about Assassin's Creed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Assassin's Creed, I mean, it came out in late October, so yeah, a little over a month, I guess.
A little over a month. So yeah, I was missing basically one trophy in Assassin's Creed, and it's a stupid trophy. And if you miss it, I'll pray for anybody who misses it.
Which trophy is it? Just so you give them a warning.
What is it? The recycle, reuse, or whatever the hell. You basically, what you need to do is, while there's a bunch of like looting in the game, and you're able to loot these trinkets, which are just random sellable items. Now the issue with the trophy is you need to sell 100 of them at once.
Right.
And if you're like me and you didn't know that was a trophy, you were just selling shit, just to sell it.
Just willy-nilly.
Just willy-nilly. And when you realize, I realized way too late, because I was like, I've already done like all the locations, basically looted about everything in the game type shit.
Right.
And I don't think any of that like loads back in, you know what I mean? Like refreshes. So I had to make a new character.
Right. Yeah, I remember you told me you were doing that just to get the trophy, right?
Yeah, because part of me was like, you've come this far, Todd. You've come this far. You might as well you got to get the platinum at this point.
How many hours were spent just on the new character getting the...
Ooh, that's a good question. That's a real good question. I think easily almost like, over 10 at least.
Wow. Okay. So in other words, there are these trinkets that you need to like hang on to throughout the course of the game, and don't sell them because you need to sell them all at once when you have over 100. You were telling me, I remember you were like kind of farming for this on the new character or whatever, and you were telling me that you were annoyed because like they don't have any sort of objective tracker. Yeah,
so you legitimately have to count them out each time you want to like know how many you have.
Yeah.
So it's really annoying.
I think what I'll probably do is I'll play through the game and just hold on to all my trinkets, and then like when I have every other trophy, then I'll go and sell the trinkets.
So yeah, basically by the end of the game, if you do not sell them, you should definitely have enough.
Yeah.
Just basically when you're selling, it's just like there's a option to sell all unnecessary items.
Right.
Don't hit that.
Avoid that shit.
Don't hit that.
Avoid that shit like the plague.
Yes.
Like the Egyptian plague.
Yeah, because it will fuck your day up.
But you got it now.
Yeah, I got the platinum. I think you were there when I got the platinum.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And I was just like, I'm finally done. And I'm
finally
done.
That's not how you were. You were like, give me that platinum, bitch. Give Daddy his platinum.
Is that what I don't know. Was I like that?
I think you were. I think it was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I think you were like, ooh, yeah, give Daddy his platinum.
Oh, yeah, you're probably right, because I think I was like, I just got home from work or something, and I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna get this platinum right fucking now.
It's probably. I think I was playing Zelda or something, and
yeah, I think I had about like 60 or 70 trinkets, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna fucking do this shit right now. I'm gonna get 30. I'm gonna get like 30 more. I'm gonna knock this shit out. I'm gonna delete this piece of shit character so I don't have to look at him. But yeah, and then the other thing I've been doing on Assassin's Creed is I've been doing the Trials of the Gods. Which
didn't they just do like the last one?
The last one for now. I mean, like this is so we've fought Anubis, Sobek, and now Sekhmet. They're all basically the same. I'm gonna be completely honest. They all basically kind of do the same shit. Like you're really just sitting there using your bow to do damage, and then they spawn minions. You still do health damage to the thing. You're dodging attacks. It's all basically the same.
So you're still doing health damage to the boss while you're fighting the minions?
Yeah, like actually the minions are actually like attached to it. Like there's like these like animus like tendril things basically. Like you kind of see them.
Like a puppet
Like they're just kind
master.
of connected. Yeah, kind of shit like that. Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, when you attack them, you actually do health damage to the god and all that. It, I mean, like for me, like at level 40, you got all this legendary gear. Like I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
Like I've
it's
actually like
super
raised
easy.
it. Yeah, I've like raised the difficulty up just to make it like more of a challenge. But like it's still really not because it's like all the shit that I use is like helps me out in those because I got like all like the health on hit stuff, the health on like kill, health on critical. That's the most important like legendary modifiers in the game, honestly.
Does the game reward you in any way, like Bethesda games or something, for playing on the higher difficulty? Like to
I
get more
honestly don't know.
XP or anything?
I mean, you probably do. It's just like I never realized it doesn't. I've never realized it to that because like I'm like level 40 and I don't care.
Right.
So like because I just recently changed it to the higher difficulty. Um, but other than that, you know, like I've said I've saw a couple articles about it, like how like oh this stuff's really hard. I'm like, what?
They're probably
talking
not
about?
max level, like 80 hours in.
I'm like, that's what I'm saying. Like, what level are you guys trying to do this bullshit at? Like, because this Assassin's Creed Origins is not forgiving for you to do anything
Right.
like a couple levels below. Like you can be. It's I think it's like legit. Enemies are red after like 2 or 3 levels, and there's skulls at 4 levels. You ain't doing shit to the skulls. You can kind of fight the reds, but they'll one shot you or two shot you, and that's on normal. Like fuck whatever it does on a like hard
Right.
or like the new difficulty they plan on adding nightmare. Fuck you, mean?
Yeah, I think I read about that they're adding a higher difficulty setting.
Yeah, they're actually gonna adding a horde mode, which I'm kind of down for because I actually have fun with the combat. So I actually wouldn't mind checking out that horde mode.
That game's on my list. It's high up on my priority list. I'm hoping to tackle it some point this month. So, and I'm looking forward to it because I got it on Black Friday. I got the game and the season pass. So
Again, overall, like it's been one of my favorite games this year. So
we'll get into that in a future episode.
woo.
We made a beautiful baby boy in Dragon's Dogma together.
Oh yes, we did.
We love fucking with that character creation, doing that Kmart Monster Factory.
I think that's kind of become a thing with like just like the streams where it's my gameplay, the whole tater time. Like I think I want to just solely play games where I have character customization, so I can do that shit.
Make that game's version of the tater idea, basically.
Yes, and it's awful.
Now
it's all awful.
what's interesting about Dragon's Dogma though is that it introduces an entirely a wholly new concept of the pawn. So not only do you have tater, you also have tot.
Oh, it's a 2-for-1. It's amazing. Now, there was a level of like the customization is not as crazy as like what we did in like Bloodborne or whatever.
No, but we still made them pretty gross.
It's enough. Like, and honestly, your reaction to finding out that we can play as a child was amazing.
I don't even remember. I just remember
You were just like, oh, you can play as a sweet baby boy, like shit like that. And I was like, oh god.
Yeah, because you were looking at some of the presets and just like just this little child, this little like blonde-haired, blue-eyed boy. I was like, oh, beautiful.
This is the content I crave, type shit.
You know what though?
I was like, oh.
You know what though, and that is the content I crave. But I'm actually watching you play has been kind of fun because the game's actually pretty cool looking.
Yeah, it has a lot of like really cool. Like honestly, like a lot of people actually when it came out on PC, a lot of the Souls streamers and like Souls guys actually kind of jumped on that game for a little bit. Just because it's kind of like
you can watch our archive videos on YouTube. And like I'm legitimately intrigued by it because I'm just like this game is so weird. It's like I can see a little bit of like a Souls tinge to it, but it also has like a lot of Shadow of the Colossus in there.
Yes, that's actually one of my favorite aspects of the game is like being able to climb on the enemies and hitting their weak points. I love that shit.
Yeah,
and I mean it's definitely, dude. It actually pays more. I mean it helps out more to use like the assassins or like the rangers. because they actually are able to do some of their abilities while on the enemies. Like me, the warrior, you can't do that shit really, for the most part. And it's a real fun game. It's actually like the moment you, because I think it was you actually ended up getting it for me on the PlayStation 4, because I was talking about buying it, then you're like, dude, this shit's on sale.
Yeah, you were
like,
asleep.
Like,
So I follow a few like deal things, like video game deal Twitter accounts, like Wario64 and stuff like that is a great one. And like I was just scrolling through, and it's like it was like Get Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen for like $11 or something like that. And I linked you to it, and I knew you were asleep. But I texted it to you, and I was like, Todd, if you're awake, get this shit. Todd, get this. And then like after a few minutes, I was like, fuck, it's gonna sell out. So like I just wound up buying it and just sending you the code, and I was like, fuck you, here.
yeah, it worked out. So
it worked out.
You've done that with a couple of games and during my life.
We'll consider that a Nerd Bourbon content purchase.
Yeah, basically, like I'm still like, we didn't do the stream this past week,
but we've been relatively consistent. We've been streaming a lot actually lately. Like,
yeah, I know you've been streaming. Well, I guess we can do this as a good transition.
Yeah, perfect segue.
Perfect segue into Hat in Time, because you've been actually streaming that.
Yeah, I streamed a little Hat in Time when I first got it. Actually, my father-in-law came down for a few days from Alaska. My fiance hadn't seen him in like 10 years easily, which was cool. So he came down to see her, and it was really nice to meet him. I'd never met him before, and turns out he's like a huge, like, actual legit hardcore gamer. Like Anastasia, my fiance, told me that he was a gamer, but I kind of was like, oh, he probably plays like Madden or Call of Duty or something like that, but no, like, he's a legit...
I love how stereotypical you were about to be with that, though. I actually... Because you're just like, oh, yeah, I bet a gamer, huh?
I don't mean to seem, like, reductive, but, like, when people tell me that, like, oh, yeah, my dad's a gamer, like, typically that's what that means, is, like, I'm not trying to say that you're not, like, a quote-unquote real gamer if you play those games. You are, but, like, that's just what I expected. I expected his scope to be much more, I guess, limited than it actually was. Because as it turns out, he's like a huge PC gamer. And and was talking to me about like RimWorld and like these and like Ark and all these, like, quote unquote hardcore games. And actually it was weird, because I had this weird moment where, like, my dad, both of my dads, my biological father and my stepdad, neither of them are big into video games. They both are kind of in a precursory way, like they enjoy them, but they're not like big into games. So it was interesting, because growing up, I was always like, oh man, how cool would it be to have like a dad who was a gamer or whatever. And it was weird, because meeting my fiance's dad for the first time kind of gave me a taste of what that would be like, to have a dad that you can like talk about video games with on like a real level, like a guy who is talking about these like complex, PC games and stuff. Like, he's a huge PC gamer. So anyway, long story short, I'm not saying like my dad's great, but he's more of like a sports guy.
Before you move on, might as well add this. Like, even with my dad, who's like out of your dad, my uncle, and like out of the brothers, he's like, my dad's more of like the medium tier of like being into video games.
Yeah,
I think Uncle Aaron was always the most.
Uncle Aaron's probably the most, and then like your dad, Uncle Raj, is probably like he probably keeps his finger most on the pulse. Like, he doesn't play a whole lot of games, but he makes himself very aware of playing games.
Mm-hmm. Again, the first game I've seen my dad play in a long time was actually Mario Odyssey. I almost brought a tear to my eye, and
that's the power of Mario, dude.
Yeah, my dad, like, he's the type of dude who'll keep his, like, keep his finger on the pulse, keep his feet wet, you know what I mean?
I think your dad would probably play more games, but like his leisure hours, which he doesn't have a lot because he works a lot, but like I think your dad's leisure hours are probably more so spent watching TV shows. Yeah,
watching TV shows with my mom, and that's kind of like, that's why I always tell him, like, like you got to choose to play the video game.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean,
But,
you fill your leisure hours with with what you enjoy. But for me and
yeah.
for you and I, that's video games. And for your dad, that's TV, and that's fine. But yeah, your dad, like he still keeps his finger very much on the pulse and stuff like that.
Yeah, he'll come and like tell me shit that I already knew about because I'm more into the world of video games.
Yeah, like your dad bought
But
a
it's just like-
Switch and a SNES Classic and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
I actually ended up buying him a sleeve and a screen protector for his Switch because I bought one for myself.
good decision. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a little too late.
yeah, yeah. I didn't have an issue with that, but I bought one just because I liked the way it looked and I liked the idea of protecting my Switch in a dock. But anyway, that's besides the point. The point is it gave me a little taste. Like meeting him gave me a little bit of a taste to of like what it would be like to have like a gamer father. In other words, like I love my dad, my stepdad. Like he's great, but he's more of like a sports guy and stuff like that. And we don't really connect on that level super well. He plays some games, but like it was kind of cool to like see the other side of the coin, like what it would be to have a gamer dad. And now I do sort of have a gamer dad and my father-in-law. And anyway, long story short, for Christmas, when he came down, we sort of exchanged gifts with. He came down with his girlfriend, and we sort of like exchanged gifts and stuff like that. And we got him a $50 Steam gift card, and then he turned around and got me a $50 PlayStation Network gift card. So
Nice.
it was a funny kind of like wash almost. And with that $50, I bought A Hat in Time. Which is a game that I was looking forward to for a long time, and essentially it is a indie 3D collectathon platformer in the vein of Mario Sunshine. It reminds me a lot actually of Mario Sunshine. Kind of a movement-based, semi-open world 3D collectathon platformer with really kind of colorful graphics and funny writing and stuff like that. And I've only played like maybe an hour and a half of it. I think I streamed for like an hour and then I played a little bit more just to kind of get a feel for it. I need to play more. And I'm probably going to stream more. Like every time I play that game, I think I'm going to stream it.
Okay.
I don't know. It's just fun. Like it's there's definitely some like jank to it. Like you can tell that it was not, there's a level of polish that isn't quite there, but that doesn't really matter because the game like controls really well and the movement is really fun and the structure of the game is a little bit weird, but like the actually playing it is fun. And I was comparing it in my head the whole time, and you can even hear me if you watch the archive on the stream. Like I was comparing it in my head the entire time to Yooka-Laylee, and like essentially why am I already enjoying playing A Hat in Time more than Yooka-Laylee?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because Yooka-Laylee, I think, is almost like what's the word I'm looking for? And first of all, I want to go back and play Yooka-Laylee. I'm actually debating on grabbing it on Switch because that's kind of a surefire way to get me to play games nowadays. I honestly,
I feel you.
I play my Switch probably more than my PlayStation at this point. I just love the Switch. The Switch is just a fucking great console. But like with Yooka-Laylee, it's almost like a game made in a vacuum. And A Hat in Time feels like it's taken some of the bad parts out of the games that it takes inspiration from in a way that Yooka-Laylee did not.
Well, that's the deal. Like Yooka-Laylee, like gave you the most. It stayed almost too retro.
Yeah, like Yooka-Laylee is like, we're making Banjo-Kazooie again. Literally, we're making Banjo-Kazooie again.
Yeah.
Which is like the best
With,
and
like,
worst thing about it.
Yeah, with all the the bad shit like the camera control and all that.
Yeah, with all the 20-year-old baggage that people have learned to remove.
Mm-hmm.
Yooka-Laylee's not a bad game, but like coming into A Hat in Time, I was like, wow, this is already so much better, just in terms of how it just feels to play, So, but I am debating on grabbing Yooka-Laylee on Switch whenever I have time and just playing through it that way because I just make more time to play games on Switch. I've noticed. Let me kind of backtrack a little bit here. I did yesterday play through the first campaign mission of Call of Duty World War II. Which is interesting. Have you played the campaign at all?
I have not touched it. I'm gonna be completely honest with you, because a part of me wants to. It's just whenever I think about it, I'm just like, I don't care.
It's actually pretty cool. I've only played the first mission, and I don't think there's very many missions. But this game is so old school. It is like deliciously old school, this game.
Yeah.
Like, I actually can't believe how old school it is. The campaign. Like, in that, like, at least in the first mission, unless it like drastically changes, there are health packs. So
What?
yeah, so there's no more regenerating health like a typical Call of Duty game.
Okay.
It's health packs.
It does. They have. Okay, so in the campaign, it's health based, huh? That's cool.
Yeah. And like I said, unless
Did not
this
know
changes like later on in the campaign or something, like in the first mission at least, it's health packs, and it feels like you're playing an old school Call of Duty game. Like your objectives pop up in like big stupid, PS2 era letters on the screen, and the game design is not as pedestrian as it was back then, but it has like an old school tinge to it. Like you feel like you're playing a modern version of like, the first couple of Call of Duty games. Like the design tenets of old Call of Duty games, sort of pre Call of Duty 4 Call of Duty games, are present in a modern Call of Duty game, and that is World War II's campaign. And I don't know, it's really interesting. Obviously the graphics and the sound the quality of all of that is very high, and it's very like bombastic summer blockbuster like Call of Duty normally is. But like, I don't know, it was just kind of nice to play a game that was like old school like that, where you actually had to, like, the game's actually like kind of fucking hard. Like, I'm playing on normal, and dude, like, I died, even just, spoiler alert, and you made this comment probably even on this podcast.
I always make the comment. Talking about storming the beaches.
Yeah, you storm the beaches of Normandy. That's how the game opens, right? Is you storming the beaches of Normandy, and I probably died 10 times just on the beach. Like, the game's hard. Like, and you almost have to like reacclimate yourself to playing an old school style game like this, where you have to actually stop and think, and like shoot enemies and like manage your health in a way that you don't normally have to.
It's funny, even in like the multiplayer, you kind of have to react. You kind of have to like think about what the hell you're doing in the multiplayer, because you're so used to like now, like the past Call of Duties have had like the movement systems,
right?
Being able to like jump around and escape shit easily. There ain't none of that shit.
Yeah, it's funny because even ancillary stuff, like the way that the game sets up its missions, even is how like the old Call of Duties used to do it. Like, modern Call of Duty sort of take the the Call of Duty 4 Onward approach, where it's like a pan of like the area you're going to be exploring or whatever, and it's like, no, we're doing this and that, and we're fucking shit up here and whatever. But like, World War II is almost like a mission briefing in the way that the old Call of Duty games were, and has like an after mission report and shit like that. And like even like the level select screen, like it all just looks very, like I said, deliciously old school. Like,
see, you're selling me on playing the campaign.
It's pretty good, dude. Like, I'm enjoying it.
Props to you, because my friend Ronald, he does not do a good job of selling anything to me. Well, his ass doesn't even really like the campaign, from what I understand.
I've heard things about the campaign that even sound even cooler. So, like, I try to always play the Call of Duty campaign every year, because, like,
for the most part, they tend to be all right. The only one that's been like absolute ass in the last couple of years has been Ghost.
Well, here's the thing that is true about Call of Duty, even bad ones like Ghost, right? It is always like at a very base level, even if the story is shit or like whatever, the encounters or the set pieces or whatever, even if all of that is shit, the game is always at least fun to play. Like, Call of Duty is always, on balance, at its bare ass minimum, a fun 60 frames per second, rock solid first person shooter.
Yeah, so there's a reason Call of Duty's still number one.
Yeah, like, it's because it's the king of its craft. Like, you cannot say that they are not well made games. They like totally are. And frequently, especially in recent years, like, Call of Duty campaigns are actually doing some like interesting shit. Like, I always talk about Advanced Warfare as being my favorite Call of Duty campaign, because that campaign, not only does it have like a great story with great performances, but like that's the first game that really took power away from the player. and you do an entire
that last
yeah.
It last like it's one of the last missions in the game, I think.
You do an entire mission in the game where like your arm is broken off and you have like no weapons, and it's awesome. I was like, it felt like something out of like Half-Life or something. I was like, this is badass. And similarly, I heard about a mission, and I haven't played it yet, but one of the YouTube channels that I follow, Mark Brown, Game Maker's Toolkit, he did a video recently that was kind of like the 10 best levels of the year, and a level from World War II was one of them, the World War II campaign. And apparently what it is it's sort of a mission that begins, you're like doing some undercover work in Paris, and you're like a spy, and you have to actually, like, as you're kind of working through the level, there's no combat, and you're kind of infiltrating this like German, I guess, base in Paris, and occasionally people like stop you and like ask you about your story and shit like that. So you as the player have to actually like look at your dossier and like memorize your actual, like, your sort of alibi and like your purported story. Otherwise you're going to get caught.
Damn.
Dude,
I respect that. That actually sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, like like I respect it when Call of Duty like does interesting shit like that. And like the game, like he was describing the level sense of pace, like how it starts very quiet and there's no combat, but there's like the interesting gameplay mechanic of having to like sort of like actually be a spy, and then it ramps up into like this, it ramps up slowly into this big actual battle in a typical Call of Duty sense. But like,
nice.
By the time you get to the battle, you're very familiar with the battlefield that it's taking place on, because you spent the earlier bits of the level navigating it, Mm-hmm. So it sounds really, really cool. Like, World War II is doing some interesting shit with its campaign, and I'm looking forward to playing more. Let's see. Let's move on to oh man. So there are a couple things in here. I've sort of got this like list of all the shit we've been up to this past couple weeks since we last did a reel. We did an Evergreen episode last week because my father-in-law was in town, so we've kind of backlogged a lot of shit for us to talk about. And I'm looking at this, and some of these are just juicy steaks where I'm just like, ugh. Do we want to fuck it? Let's dig into Curse of Osiris.
Okay, yeah, let's get a little impromptu review of it, basically.
Yeah, so Curse of Osiris is the new expansion for Destiny 2, which just came out, a week ago now? I think? A little over a week ago?
Yeah, like the 5th?
Yeah, it came out December 5th, I think. So yeah, let's kind of give like our early sort of impressions on it.
Alright. I like it more than most people.
Yeah, I think you like it more than I do.
I mean, do I have issues with it? Yeah, I have. There's some really serious issues I have with it. But like, overall, like, I think it still is a complete DLC for the most part. But other than that, yeah, I mean, we can get into the issues we have with it later on after your first little impressions.
I mean, it's all right. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm a little bit bummed out by it overall, because I really thought, I was really excited for this expansion to come out, because I was really excited to have another reason to like really sink my teeth back into Destiny 2 and and fuck it, let's do this. All these new additions sound awesome, and like they've done some great shit. Like, they've really done some great quality of life improvements with this game, and there's some cool shit in Curse of Osiris for sure. Like,
I think technically more updates. So as we're recording this right now, I think more updates just went live.
They're doing maintenance right now.
Yeah.
I think it's down for maintenance until like 4 p.m. But yeah, so like, they're doing all of these great quality of life improvements and stuff like that. But like, man, just the actual content that is there is pretty like mediocre in my opinion. Like, the campaign of it is fine. The strikes are just campaign missions, which is fine, and they wore that on their sleeve. Like, they announced ahead of time that the strikes were going to be just revamped campaign missions, basically. Like, just
Don't
campaign
even
missions
call them
packaged.
revamped. Let's not even call them revamped.
They're just they've taken campaign missions and just packaged them as strikes essentially.
Yeah.
And and that's a bummer. Like, I understand they telegraphed that ahead of time, but that still fucking sucks. Like, let's be honest. Like, that's lame.
Yeah, that is actually one of my issues. It's like I was looking for more reasons to do strikes, and I've actually been doing more strikes because of some of the new shit from the expansion, which is I guess we can get into that later. Or we can get into it right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice that they've added they've added a lot of new milestones. Like, I really like that they have the heroic
That's
strike.
not even why I was doing it.
Yeah, you're doing because of the verses and shit, right?
Yeah, I was farming it for the verses to get the unique weapons, and the only reason I want to do the verses is because I need to see my boy.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, the versus stuff is interesting. I guess there are interesting things in here, but like, it's so scant. Like it's like you just got this rib bone, and yeah, it's got a few pieces of meat on it, but you're really just fucking. You're just fucking eating a bare bone of rib,
That's, I do agree with you on that. Like, I will say, like, one of my favorite parts about the DLC is, holy shit, the design of Panoptes.
Yeah, he was cool.
I think that was one of the better designed bosses of Destiny.
That boss fight was fun.
The thing that I like about him is he looked, because most of the time we fight a Vex boss. It's just a giant Hydra.
A giant version of a Vex.
A giant Minotaur.
Yeah.
A giant Hobgoblin.
Mm-hmm.
This motherfucker was... Yeah, he had bits and pieces of like of a Hydra, but he was more or less his own fucking thing. And I think he looked legit.
Yeah, I mean, he was cool, but like that's so like... That's really kind of grasping at straws to find ways to complement the game, because like when you think about what this expansion brings to the table, right? It's got a pretty lame campaign, which has some fleeting cool moments, but for the most part, the campaign is like pretty lame.
And the funny, actually, this is going to be me shitting on the campaign. The funny thing about the campaign for me is the fact that it tries to prolong it with going into the Infinite Forest.
Yeah, and the Infinite Forest is lame. It's a cool idea that is not executed well.
Okay, I think the Infinite Forest was overhyped by players.
I think Infinite Forest is overhyped by Bungie too, because like
it was bad on both ends.
They had like the live streams that were in which they were revealing the Infinite Forest, and I stayed away from it because I intentionally didn't want to know anything about it. But they're like, oh, this is gonna be randomly generated. It's gonna be a different experience each time, and it's just not like, it's not fun to navigate.
Nope.
It's not like there's no like, it doesn't really change in any meaningful ways. Like, you're still just killing. Yeah, it's different enemies, I guess, and different layouts.
What I would have preferred with Mercury is, one, the standard patrol zone is like legit like a Crucible map in size.
Right. Yeah.
Now let me talk about what my issue. What I would think would have made Mercury a more complete planet. I've seen it. I've seen people say it. Is honestly, get rid of the Infinite Forest and just have 2 fucking portals. All right. One to the simulant past, one to the simulant future, and shit to do over there too.
Right.
My God.
I agree with that. And then like there's one public event which is like kind of cool because I like how much more mechanical it is, but it's also a little overlong and stuff like that, and it's kind of annoying to make.
I mean, I like that you get 2 chests, and yeah, it's one of the ones that like, if you don't know how to make it heroic, somebody's gonna fuck you over, and it's not, because like I figured out how to make it heroic pretty early on, but the issue is people are like working against you half the time, is like, because they're already at the other side,
right,
starting to do the other bullshit, and the moment they finish that side over you're on the left trying to make it heroic, they're on the right just doing the public event, they fuck you over, and it's over. You only get one chance of making it heroic.
I want to take you back to a time where it was before Taken King came out, and and it was in Destiny 1, and it was you and I and our friend Tyler, rest in peace. he's
not even dead.
He's not dead, but like, I miss playing Destiny with that guy.
Yeah.
We were the Primo Fire Team, right? And we would just like we would jump on there and just do strikes or just do Prison of Elders or whatever. And like
God damn, I miss Prison of Elders.
Like, in other words, Destiny 2 I don't think yet has done, in terms of actual pieces of content, I don't think Curse of Osiris does any one thing really, really well that's going to keep me coming back. Mm-hmm. Because at this point, I'm just like, yeah, like, I want to get back up to level cap, and I want to try out the raid layer. But, like, when you boil this DLC down, it's like, okay, we have a lame campaign. We have lame strikes that are based on campaign missions, that are campaign missions. We have a lame new planet / patrol zone with a pretty lame new public event there. And, like, you know, I don't think anything really interesting is happening with Crucible right now, other than Prometheus lens fucking everything up.
Other than that sweet, sweet Prometheus lens.
I don't know. It's just, the whole thing leaves a sour taste in my mouth. And I was really kind of hoping that it wasn't. Like, I was really kind of like hoping that it was going to be the thing that draws me back into Destiny 2, but
yeah,
it really isn't.
The only good thing about the campaign for me is just like the lore implications. You know, I'm a lore.
Yeah, I mean, I am
head.
too. Like, I love the lore stuff, and I love there are some great moments in that campaign, but like overall, it's a pretty lame little story. It's not great. Like, it's just kind of boring. I don't know. Like, there's not a whole lot going on, and like it's really short and stuff like that. And I was expecting it to be short, but I don't know. I'm just kind of burnt by it overall. It's not the shot in the arm that I thought it was going to be, I guess.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't that. I still hate it a lot less than most people.
I don't hate it. I think it does some things right, but I don't know. It's just a bummer. I'm just bummed out by it.
Maybe I'm biased because they brought back my helmet.
Yeah, I mean, at least you got that, because I don't even have anything like that. I mean, they brought back the Graviton forfeit, I guess. Which,
because the helm of Saint 14 may not be as good as it was, but I don't care. It's still sexy.
Yeah, I guess the thing that here's my thoughts on Curse of Osiris in a nutshell, and then I'll drop it, and we'll move on. My thoughts on Curse of Osiris in a nutshell is that, like, the best parts about it are the changes that they've made to fix the problems that Destiny 2 already had.
Yeah.
And that's, like, sad,
and
you know?
And that's basically going to be the best part of, like, what was it, when the game's actually out of maintenance today.
Yeah.
Is like I think with this update we're actually getting the Masterworks shit like that.
Yeah, I think this update's going to give us the Masterworks, and it's going to give us like the faded engrams with Xur and stuff.
Well, that ain't going to matter till Friday, but still.
Yeah, but I think this is the patch that is implementing a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, it's just, I don't know, it's a bummer. It's a bummer. It does some cool shit. It does some good quality of life improvements, but it doesn't really add a whole lot of new actual content that I want to keep coming back to. So, anyway,
I mean, the one thing I will say is we did mention it for like a second. For the people that like the grind, the verses are there for you.
Yeah, there's some stuff for the grind.
Some heavily grinding bullshit right there.
Which they need to cater to that audience a little bit more. I understand, but I don't know, man. We'll hit back with future Destiny updates. As a regular segment of this show.
Yeah, that'll be something going forward once we get back out of December.
Definitely. I guess I'll talk about Champion's Ballad for a little bit. So, at the game,
serenade me.
Yes, at the Game Awards, we all kind of knew that it was going to come. Like, you and I talked a little bit about doing it was kind of too late, but we talked about doing like a kind of predictions betting special for the for PSX and the Game Awards. They happened back to back. It was it was PSX on a Thursday night, then the Game Awards I think on a Friday night. And we talked about we didn't have the time to do it, but we talked about kind of like getting some predictions together and doing like a betting special and blah, blah, blah. It's something we'll probably do in the future. Like, that might be the approach we have to, like, E3 next year or something like that. Anyway, one of my predictions, and it was a safe prediction, was that, Champions Ballad was going to get announced at Game Awards. Nintendo always brings something to Game Awards. And sure as shit, Champions Ballad was revealed and it was out that night, right? And it is kind of like the very hyped kind of second DLC expansion for Breath of the Wild. A lot of people have been looking forward to it, myself included, because I fucking love Breath of the Wild. I've been playing it a lot more recently because I kind of knew that Champions Ballad was right around the corner.
You felt it in your balls.
I felt it dead in my balls. But yeah, I knew that was right around the corner, so I was like, let me just turn this on occasionally and just like find some Koroks and stuff like that. And the game is still just so much fun to just play. It's just fun to like live in that world, And it's just, I've been having more fun with that than I have been with like almost every other game I have right now. So I was like, fuck it, I'm playing Zelda. So Champions Ballad is kind of a weird beast because I think going into this, a lot of people, rightly so, justifiably so, expected this to be a big, meaty, story-based expansion. And it kind of isn't. Like, it's not really what you expect, because like Nintendo is marketing this thing, showing off like the cutscenes that are in it. But that's kind of it. Like they're like, in terms of the story content, the actual raw story, like of Champions Ballad, there's not much going on there. The structure of Champions Ballad is you go to these locations, Cass is there, and he's trying to fill in kind of their Champions Ballads, the songs that that his teacher was never able to complete or whatever about the different champions. And from there you go to different shrines that appear. I think there are like a total of 16 new shrines that have been added. And
Okay.
and they're great. All of them are great. The new shrines that are added are like some of the best in the game. They're fantastic. Some of them are frustrating, but they're all great.
Tell me this. Motion control.
Yes. The frustrating ones are the ones that involve motion control. Yeah, the motion controls are in some of them.
Did you find the jank?
Not really. Like you kind of have to be somewhat legitimate.
Do it properly.
Yeah.
Oh, terrible.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. Just like with every shrine, I'm sure there's a million ways to break it. But I don't know. I did them all. Like I 100%ed Champions Ballad and stuff like that. But they're just really fun. Like a lot of them are really good, and a lot of the true bullshit are like how every shrine kind of has like an optional kind of room to like get another chest or something.
Yeah.
That's where much of the bullshit lies.
Oh Lord.
But I'll say this, like, I'll just kind of give a few examples. Like, there are a couple of, there's like a shrine where you kind of have to do some like mousetrap shit, where you have to like set up this like complex course for a ball to follow and stuff like that, and like you kind of have to do a lot of trial and error, and it feels like you're playing an elaborate game of that board game Mousetrap, That's
oh no.
That's sort of what it felt like, and that was fun. And then there's one where this is another motion control one, where you have a box, and inside of this box there are several different colored orbs. There's like, say, 4 green orbs floating around in there, 2 orange orbs, like 5 purple orbs or whatever. And you have these little slits that you can see inside, and you have to kind of know how many of which color ball is in there. So you're like shaking it around with your motion controls, trying to see how many different colored balls are in there. It's just, there's some interesting shit that they do with the motion controls, at least. It's not just like, hey, make this ball go through a motion control maze, Anyway, the structure is you get to these points, you do these shrines, and then you go back to the divine beasts associated with the champions, and you fight them again, but you fight the Ganon variants again, like the Windblight Ganon, Fireblight Ganon, and stuff like that. You fight them again with limitations based on the champions. So, like, when you go back to Va Meadow or whatever, Rivali's, you're wearing, like, the Snow Quill outfit. You have a shit ton of arrows, but you don't have really anything else, and you're kind of
So, yeah, you're basically facing them. You're basically facing the bosses as the champions would,
as the champions fought them. Yeah,
and showing them up because they died.
right. Because they obviously they died to the to the Ganon and everything.
Spoilers. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I guess so. They died to them, but you're sort of like you're sort of taking on that challenge in this illusory realm that you're brought back to through their memories, and you're fighting them. It's a step away from actually playing as Mipha or Revali or whatever, because you have all of their same gear and stuff like that. So it was a cool way to handle it, and some of them were like actually pretty challenging. And it all culminates, after you do it, you get advanced versions of the champion abilities, which is really cool. They all get like severely reduced cool times. Like I can just basically always use Revali's Gale now.
So I have a question.
What?
Which one was the hardest?
Which one was the hardest? I would say that Mipha's was probably the hardest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How was Thunderblight Ganon?
Thunderblight Ganon was okay. I never had an issue with Thunderblight Ganon ever because like his mechanics are pretty easy to find out. I think Thunderblight is probably my favorite. He's the most fun to fight in my opinion. But like
I can agree with that.
The actual mechanics of that fight are like really easily telegraphed, and it's like really easy to figure out what you need to do. They all sort of are, but like the difference with Mipha's, the Water Blight Ganon, is like you just don't have a lot of tools to do what you need to do, and it literally got to the point where I had to just lug bombs at him and just chip away at his health, because like you have like a couple of spears that don't really do that much damage, and you have like your Sheikah Slate abilities and stuff like that, but that's like kind of it, Like you have a few arrows. I think you're given like 12 arrows or something like that, but for the most part, you're just sitting there with a fucking spear like an idiot,
Yeah, the spears. I'm not too big on the spears, and
yeah, it's like, what am I supposed to do? Like throw this spear at him? Like I don't really know what to do.
You probably would have did a little more damage.
Not really. Like I tried it. I actually died to him like twice. So I don't know. I eventually got to the point where like, yeah, all of my spears are broken, and like I had no arrows, and I'm just like literally just throwing bombs at the dude, chipping away at his health. So that one, that one was annoying, but it's fine. Like what is cool though is it all culminates in this final boss fight, which I won't spoil who it's against or whatever, but like the fight itself is fucking amazing. It's like, it's actually kind of a shame that you have to go through so much bullshit to get to this final boss fight, because I feel like a lot of people aren't actually going to see it. But like, it is one of the best boss fights in the entire series. Like, it's up there, man. It would be top 5 Zelda bosses easily.
Damn,
it's so good. Like I described it to you as like, it's sort of like this game's version of Gurman from Bloodborne. Like, it is a culmination of everything you've learned up until this point. Like, he has a seemingly endless variation of moves, and when you're fighting him, he puts them all to the test. If you do not know how to shield parry, if you do not know how to dodge properly, if you don't know how to use your bows properly, if you do not know how to use your Sheikah Slate abilities properly, you're fucked.
God bless.
And it is the most Dark Souls ass boss in a Zelda game, and it is all the better for it. It's a fantastic boss fight, and the music, oh my god, the track that they made for this fucking boss fight, it's just, and like where it takes place. I'll say this isn't much of a spoiler, but you're on this floating platform and you just see all of Hyrule underneath you. Oh,
that's legit.
It's fucking phenomenal. It's a phenomenal boss fight. It's easily the best part of this whole DLC. Like a lot of people are burnt by this DLC, and I think that's fine. I think that's understandable. To me, that boss fight alone and the addition of the fun new shrines totally makes it worth it.
Made up for it.
Totally makes it worth it. After you fight the Divine Beasts, though, and you get these upgraded champion abilities, you get little cutscenes that kind of like give more backstory to the champions and stuff, and they're fine. A lot of them are pretty good, and it's just not much. I think we all expected more. I think we all expected more story because I love Breath of the Wild, and you're going to hear me talk a lot more about Breath of the Wild during our Game of the Year show. I think one of the few shortcomings of Breath of the Wild is the story, and is the way that the story services the champions. I think the story of the champions is kind of pedestrian, honestly. And it's a bummer because I feel like the game doesn't give them their due in a way. Because they're interesting characters, but we just don't get much of them, you know?
Yeah, that's some real shit.
And this DLC does not do a lot to change that. But it is more great Zelda gameplay in a lot of really fun ways. And I don't know, it's got such a nice sense of challenge. I forgot to mention the first challenge that you encounter in this is called the one-hit obliterator. The way you access this DLC, and by the way, the one-hit obliterator just sounds like a sex toy. Like let's be honest. The way that you access this is you go to the Shrine of Resurrection, and you have to have already done all of the divine beasts before the game even recognizes that you can access the DLC. So you go back to the Shrine of Resurrection, and there's this new weapon there, the one-hit obliterator. You pick it up, it instantly drains all but a quarter heart of your health. So, in other words, this weapon can kill any enemy in one hit, any enemy in the game in one hit, but you can also die in one hit. And you can't leave the Great Plateau with it, because the challenge that is presented to you is there are these 4 encampments in the Great Plateau with, varying enemies, and you have to go there and clear them out, and then a shrine appears, and, rinse and repeat. You do that 4 times, then you can access these sort of champion challenges and the divine beasts that I mentioned earlier. And that's sort of the structure of Champion's Ballad, is doing all of these different challenges and shrines and boss battles, culminating into this great, epic, awesome final boss. And that's all good. Like it's challenging, innovative Zelda gameplay in the way that I've come to love, but like it's a little disappointing that you don't get more story, because that's kind of what they were selling it on. They were selling the expansion as a story-based expansion, Like all the trailers made it seem like it was going to be some, like it was really going to fill in the blanks with the champions and stuff like that, and it just doesn't do that. And I think if you come into this with your expectations tempered, and it's just more great Zelda shit and one of the best boss fights in the series history, I think you're going to be like I am, and I think you're going to be relatively pleased overall. I'm really happy with it in a general sense. I'm a little disappointed that we don't get more actual story stuff, but in a general sense, I think it's a great piece of content, and it's long. Like, I would say you'll probably easily get 8 to 10 hours out of this. I think I ended up getting about 8 or 9 hours of gameplay out of it.
Yeah, that sounds about right, because I can basically use my Facebook messengers to figure out how much time you put into it.
Yeah, but I just that final boss, man, and then like you after you beat it all, after you beat the final boss, you get the Master Cycle Zero, which is a motorcycle, which is interesting. How much do you know about this?
I just simply know that it's a thing.
Okay, so the Master Cycle Zero is it looks like an ancient Sheikah horse motorcycle, essentially. It essentially,
God bless.
They hinted at this a little bit in Mario Kart, right? Because the Master Cycle is in Mario Kart 8. Like, when they added Link to Mario Kart. So you can go around Hyrule now on a motorcycle, which is cool. It controls fine, like it feels fun to actually drive. It actually has a fuel gauge. It has a fuel system.
Okay.
And the way it works is like you just put whatever junk materials you want into there, and it just fills it with fuel.
Okay.
And it can be literally anything. You can put like literally anything in there and use it as fuel, and it doesn't take much to fill it up. So it's basically negligible, and I honestly don't see why it's in there in the first place. They honestly...
They might as well just gave you infinite fuel.
Yeah, just take it out. Fuck it. Who cares? But it's a new Sheikah Slate ability, and you can just summon it wherever you want. And you can also just summon horses wherever you want now, too, because now there's the ancient saddle and bridle that allows you to just summon your horse wherever, and they literally just teleport to you from anywhere on the map, which is cool. And yeah, like it can jump and it can mow through just about any enemy. Like I haven't run over a fucking Lionel with it, but
Why not? No,
but like if you're driving around and there's like a moblin or a bokoblin in front of you, like it's gonna run them over. You don't really have to worry about it. You don't like take
beautiful.
You don't like take fall damage in it or anything like that. So I can't wait to see like the stupid shit people do with it. I think the only thing that will like stop it in its tracks is like steep walls or deep water. Like
okay.
Otherwise you're just kind of going, and you can like do little hops with it and wheelies with it and stuff, and people are already having a lot of fun doing stupid shit with the Master Cycle. But anyway, I digress. Champion's Ballad is good, but temper your expectations for it. So I don't know if we're going to go too much into... I guess let's just give our general thoughts about... I mentioned briefly PSX and VGAs happened. Do you want to just kind of give your general thoughts on that? How did you feel about those two shows?
I mean, I don't remember what the hell was announced at PSX.
Basically nothing.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
PSX was a total shit show this year.
Yeah.
A total shit show.
Yeah, Game Awards, I'll say this. Hellblade got some love, and that's all I cared about.
That was cool, man. Like, it was really cool because, like, again, we were going to do predictions on who we thought was going to win what awards. And I was actually surprised because, like, as I was talking to you about sort of where I thought things were going to land, I was like, well, this is probably going to win, but this is what I think deserves to win. And
yeah, and I think for the most part, Hellblade actually did win those.
Yeah, Hellblade took 3 awards, which was so cool to see. Like, you and I both love that game. It took Best Performance by Melina Juergens, which is so well deserved. It took Best Audio, again, so well deserved. Like, play that game with headphones on. And it also took Games for Impact, which is, again, so well deserved because, like, that game is about mental health. And there are not many games about that shed light on that issue.
I'll say one thing, because just back to the audio design, like, you are doing yourself a disservice by not using headphones while playing that game.
You like actually need to play Hellblade with headphones on.
Yes,
like,
to get the truest experience for that game.
Like, I don't care what you have to do. The audio design is at such a different, unique, high level of quality that if you were playing Hellblade without headphones on, man, like you said, you're doing a disservice to yourself. Did my heart a lot of good, man, to see Hellblade win. I would say that a lot of the other stuff is kind of as you would expect, like, oh, Cuphead wins Best Art Direction. Like, you don't say, imagine that, you know. Breath of the Wild won, I think, 3 awards. I think it won Best Action Adventure, Best Game Direction, and then overall Game of the Year, which was cool. Weirdly enough, I thought Mario Odyssey would clean up more awards. I think the only award it won was Best Family Game.
Yeah, that was the only thing it did win.
I was like, that's surprising. I kind of thought Mario Odyssey was going to do a little bit better than that, but PUBG, I don't think won any awards, which a lot of...
No, good that it fucking didn't, because I didn't want it to win any awards. The game's not even out.
Yeah, it's still in beta, and like, I kind of thought that it was probably going to win the Best Ongoing Game award or whatever, but... I don't know.
I think Overwatch got that right.
Yeah, Overwatch ended up taking that, which is fine. But I thought they were going to give it that, but never in a million years should it have won Game of the Year, which it was nominated for, which is stupid.
That's a fucking joke.
It's pretty stupid. But one thing that did bum me out is, like, and I think there's an interesting thing to be taken from this. So, Horizon Zero Dawn, great game. It's, spoiler alert, it's on both you and I's top 10 list of the year. Mm-hmm. We both love that game. But, and I think I mentioned this several episodes ago, I think when we were first kind of talking about Horizon, the game doesn't really do anything new. Mm-hmm. It just does a whole lot of old things really, really well.
Really, really well, yeah.
And... in the stage of the gaming sort of industry that we're in right now, that's kind of not good enough.
Yeah, it's nowadays it's like you need to do something new and adapt and like a Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, well, like, and make no mistake, right? Like, Horizon did really well critically and commercially. You and I both love it. It sold, I think, like 4 million copies or something like that, which is a huge number for a new IP. That's like Uncharted numbers, and and that's an established IP, and Horizon's a new IP. So it did really well. Like, I don't mean to say that, like, to purport that it did not do extremely well. It did, but like, when you come down to the Game Awards, Horizon didn't win a damn thing. Mm-hmm. And that's a little bit of a bummer to me, because on one hand, I like that game. On the other hand, I'm a little bit glad that we as an industry are not rewarding sameness. Mm-hmm. As much as I like that game, and I'll be there day one for Horizon 2, but like, I hope that when they come into Horizon 2, I think there's something to be gleaned by the fact that the industry is not really recognizing it as something worth rewarding in that sense. Mm-hmm. I think it's a great game that deserves being played and deserves being, supported and stuff like that. But I really hope that Horizon 2 comes out and shakes things up in a way that Horizon 1 doesn't. So, I think...
Yeah, definitely.
I think there's some interesting subtext to be read by the fact that Horizon won no awards. Even though it's a great game.
Oh, it's a fantastic game.
PSX was a total shit show. Like, PSX, I actually couldn't believe it. Like, I understand they took a sort of more casual, like, talk show approach to PSX, but nobody wants that. Like, people want the announcements. People want the hype.
We want it, yeah. We want to know about our video games, people.
There was all this, like, talk that God of War, like, the fucking PlayStation Network store, like, posted a March 22nd date for God of War. So we're like, oh, cool. I guess March 22nd is the date, and I guess we're gonna get that date at PSX, right? No.
Nope.
Nothing. We got fucking Corey Balrog or whatever talking about, like, God of War takes like 25 to 35 hours to beat. Cool. Like, I'm hyped for that game. Tell me when it's coming out. If it's coming out in March, we should know about that. That's in 3 months. Mm-hmm. Like, it was a bummer overall. There were a couple of cool announcements. Like, there were a couple of cool VR announcements and stuff like that. And they announced that they're doing a remaster of Medieval, which was cool. But overall, PSX was just a total shit show. And that's really where my thoughts end. I have one last talking point here before we wrap this up. Let's talk about the Monster Hunter World Beta. Right. Finger looking good.
Basically, I fucking love that shit. I'm so hyped to play the full game.
Yeah, I can't wait to play the full game. We had a good time playing that beta. The beta is a little limited in scope. Like, there's not a whole lot you can do, but there's only like 3 missions.
It's enough. It's enough for me.
It's enough to wet your whistle.
Enough for a taste. Exactly. Like, I think both of us kind of, like, we played a little bit of the handheld, like the last hand, was it like Monster Hunter Ultimate or whatever?
Yeah, Monster Hunter 3DS. 4 or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah, like we played a bit of that, like, and I think we both ended up using like basically the same weapons that we used in the handheld. Like, I went with the switch axe and you went with like the dual
charge
blades thing. Yeah. And it was a lot of fun. Like, I respect a lot of the new things they're doing. I love how open the world is now. Like, when we're actually in the game.
Yeah.
Because if you played the handhelds, they're all like, like basically 10 or 15 different loaded instances.
Right.
Completely opened up now. I love it.
Yeah, it's still like labeled instances, like kind of like labeled segments that are numbered and stuff like that, but this one
that just makes it easy to figure out where the fuck you're at.
Yeah, like we can be like, oh, do we want to load into 1 or do we want to load into 10 or whatever the fuck. Yeah. And it's nice now because like it's all laid out there and it's all one single loaded zone. And I really like the I really like the addition of the like sort of sprites that you follow. And when you're hunting a monster and you're tracking it.
Oh, I forgot. I don't even remember what they were called.
I don't remember what they're
scout
called.
bugs.
Oh, scout flies, right? Yeah.
Scout flies. Yeah, that sounds even better.
Yeah, I think that's it. And I like that addition because it's so like there's so much going on with that game, like both visually and in terms of the controls. The controls have been streamlined in a big bad way. Like it feels
definitely.
It feels better than any Monster Hunter game that's come before it, right? Like the combat just feels more smooth and like it's easier to play in every way conceivable.
Yeah, I mean, is there a level of the good old Monster Hunter jank? Yes,
Totally, yeah.
But it is still. I feel like if they got rid of it completely, it wouldn't be Monster Hunter.
Like you're still gonna find yourself accidentally cooking some fucking meat in the middle of battle, but like, but like it's still, you know, like it's way more streamlined than it has been in the past, you know. And I don't know, like it's just, I feel like this is gonna be the first Monster Hunter game that I like really get into.
Yeah, same. Like I really enjoy Monster Hunter, but like this is gonna be the. I've always been waiting for like Monster Hunter to actually come to like an actual console.
Right.
And I'm so happy. I'm so happy right now. I'm so fucking excited.
Yeah, it was one of those things where like I was, you know, I got recently sort of sold on it because they sort of blew the lid off of it a little bit, I would say a month or two ago, and I messaged you and I was like, Todd, why does Monster Hunter look so good?
Yeah. I've been sold on it from like kind of the get-go. Because
Yeah.
like, well, I remember like with the first trailer when we were just sitting there trying to figure out what the fuck it was. I'm like, what is this? This is Monster Hunter?
Yeah.
I was kind of into it just from like the change and, you know, because it looks, you know, the way it looks. I mean, it still has like the good Monster Hunter designs, but it is a very beautiful game.
Yeah, it's a pretty game. It's got a good sense of scale and stuff like that. And
yeah.
I'm really looking forward to seeing all the different little open worlds, and I'm really, you know, and this is the mark of a great game is like after playing the beta, I was just like, man, I cannot wait to get this full game home, and I can't wait to like actually do the Monster Hunter loop, like the actual like getting the materials from the monsters and upgrading my gear.
Actually, yeah, upgrading, crafting. I'm so excited.
Going back to the hub and stuff like that. Like, I'm really, really hyped about Monster Hunter World, and the beta was a great sort of like vindication of my hype, I guess.
Yeah, it was a good taste.
Comes out the end of next month, so we do not have long to wait. I can't wait to dive in. It's really,
and we will be we'll be streaming the shit out of that.
Yeah, we'll definitely. I was just gonna say that we'll definitely be streaming. I think the online connectivity could be a little more streamlined.
Yeah,
like getting into a group and stuff like that. I think that could be I think that could be better handled. But for what it is, I mean, you know, it kept us in the same game and stuff like. It's fine. It works. You know, but I don't know if there's much more to say than that. Was there anything else you wanted to mention before we wrap it up?
I mean. I've been playing a little bit more Absolver, but that's really because I've been I wanted to check out the new updates because I haven't played for the past like 4 or 5 updates.
Yeah, and that's I know
So,
we'll talk more about Absolver in our Game of the Year discussions.
Yes, and that's why I'm kind of like I'll just let it be known that I've been playing it.
Okay,
you'll be hearing my praise for it in the top 10 episode.
Getting a little stinky little tease here at the end. All right, well, let's
title for this episode: "Stinky Little."
There's, we'll see. There's been some good title bait. Stinky Little Tease might be. I don't know if that would be good for our SEO brand. Apple might take umbrage with Stinky Little Teases. Anyway, you've been listening to Nerd Bourbon. If you had a good time listening to these two idiots talk about video games, go ahead and throw us a follow or a sub on whatever service you're listening to us on. And if there's a service we aren't currently on that you would like to listen to us on, let me know so I can make that happen. If you have any questions, thoughts, comments, or concerns, please leave them. If you leave me a cue, I will provide an A. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/nerdbourbon, and we are at nerdbourbon on Twitter. Beyond that, as I always say, the best and only way for us to grow is for you to tell your friends about us. So, thank you guys so much for listening. Get fucking dunked on. Bye.
See ya.